Welcome to the Quarterfinals Pregame Show. Tonight we're presented by Burns Tire. I'm Joe Catapano, back on a pregame show for the first time in a long time. And beside me is Connor and Greg. No Ryan, no Stuckey, and 12 of the 20 teams. They're not here tonight. We're down to the final 8. Top 8 seeds in a row, 1 through 8. I'm going to put you on a spot a little here. Are you kind of surprised there were no upsets last night? 12 teams gone, 8 still here, and they're the top 8 seeds. We thought there'd be a lot of parity. Wasn't evident last night in the round of 16.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a show of the best teams in the league. They all came out and they performed at their highest level like they should. And it was really not too surprising to see that not that many teams were upset, but I actually wanted to see Sportslook probably be playing today, and that was probably the biggest surprise for me as the lower seed that didn't come out on top.
Yeah, I'd echo everything you said. I mean, I thought Sportslook would probably come out on top, so I guess we should give credit to STP for a minor upset.
Yeah.
But, I mean, besides that, it was very chalky.
And I think for the last half of the season, there was a pretty clear top 4 teams in the league. Monstars, No Limit, Brotherhood, and Team Moose. I don't know if we could see that upset tonight. I want to think we would have some chalk going into the Final Four. So we'll see if those top 4 reign supreme, and it's those top 4 in the finals, or in the semifinals. But at 9 o'clock on Court 1, we're going to have number 2 No Limit versus number 7 Sensual Chocolate. Did not play against each other in the regular season. So it's the first time they're going to see each other. No Limit beat Stranger Danger 71-62 last night in the round of 16. While Sensual Chocolate beat Goon Squad 94-86, 2 very good games. What are some of the keys to the game tonight? No Limit, obviously hungry from being eliminated last year, kind of right here in the same round. So what are the keys for No Limit? Can Carmine rely on those same role players as he did last night?
I'm going to have a little bit of a trend for all my picks tonight in terms of the teams that I'm going with. So for me, I'm starting off with No Limit. I think No Limit's going to come out on top in this one. I think that it's their 821 points scored that leads the league. You know, they're the most dominant offensive team in the league probably, and they also lead the league in assists, so they're not afraid to share the ball and get all their key players involved. And I think that really speaks volumes about their offense because they are so deep. They have such a good bench and such a good starting lineup that it only makes sense that they lead the league in assists because they got guys like Ra Hendricks coming off the bench giving them, over eight assists a game. So I'm pretty sure that they're just one of those teams that, they're not going to be intimidated coming into a game against Sensual Chocolate. They know they have championship caliber potential on their team, and I think that they're going to show out. And I know that Sensual Chocolate is loaded. They got Carmine and those boys, but I'm thinking No Limit's really going to be the team that pulls out in this one.
Yeah, and you said it, Ty Sands and Rashawn Hendricks will be back, and that's a huge difference maker for this No Limit team. I've said all year, Ty Sands is really underrated in this league. I think he could be a 25 points per game scorer in most teams in this league. But for Sensual, they just need Carmine to be Carmine. Control the game, make No Limit play at their pace, because once you play No Limit's game, you're not going to beat them. You got to make them play something that's different from their style of play. But last night I saw something from Terrell Vargas. He had one assist shy from a triple-double. And he looked like he turned a corner and wanted to really remind people in this league, hey, I could win an MVP too.
And the other game at 9 o'clock on Court 2, they played earlier this year, and I don't know if it's going to be the same tonight. That's number 4 Team Moose, number 5 Flint Tropics. Team Moose crushed TMC in the only kind of lopsided game last night, 91-58. And the Flint Tropics kind of disproved some of our upset picks. They beat Redemption 55-52 last night. Back in Week 5, Team Moose beat Flint Tropics 51-38. But here's the key. We've been talking about it. I think Flint Tropics might be tired of hearing it, but it's kind of the thing we have to talk about. No Mike Bizzuto. He kind of carried that team and kept Flint in it against Team Moose that first time. What kind of game are you expecting tonight? Can Team Moose kind of roll over their opponent like they did to run TMC last night?
Yeah, I think they will. They're just such. Me and Greg were talking about it earlier. They play kind of like the San Antonio Spurs, where they move that ball. They get everyone. Everyone touches it. There's plays last night where everyone touched it multiple times on scoring possessions. It's just unbelievable to watch. They're so much fun to watch. And I really like this matchup between them and the Flint Tropics because I feel like both of these teams are really deep. I know no Mike Bizzuto. That's definitely going to hurt them in the long run. But I really like that the Moose is one of those teams that we always talk about their defense, but we don't really talk about the Flint Tropics defense enough. They lead the league in blocks with 52, and Matt Sears is a big reason protecting the paint. And Team Moose, they're coming off another big win off of TMC yesterday. And Daly dropped 22 points, 10 assists, and 11 rebounds, which we didn't even talk about in the post-game show. So it's good to shine some light on that. And Dan Nadaf, who showed up, he hasn't been there a whole lot for Team Moose this year, but he's been there enough. And in replace of Trevor Chavez last night, who wasn't there, he gave them 18 points, 2 blocks, and 3 steals. Because, hey, would he be a player on Team Moose if he wasn't playing elite defense? So I really like Team Moose in this one. I think that they'll be the ones that come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, Mike B, that's the thing. He had 21 and 12. No one else on Flint had more than 4 points last time they played. So, I mean, Moose did shoot 19 for 42. And that's a little uncharacteristic of Team Moose because we know Team Moose, we set over-under, so they missed more than 10 shots. They missed 20 shots that game. And if they just play their normal game, unfortunately, I mean, I love Flint, but they probably need Mike Bizzuto for this game because he's a superstar in this league. And to beat a defensive powerhouse like Team Moose, you need your superstar.
And we're going to take a little halftime on the pregame show to talk about a fan question. We have Larry Little on the Facebook comment section. How's it going, Larry? He plays at 10 o'clock, but his question is, who's the top 3 in the MVP race? I'll weigh in too since we have only 3. I would say the top 3, your teammate Greg Langston, Brotherhood's Mike Davis, and then Carmine with the outliers. If Lob had a few more wins, I'd say Eric Singleton, and Connor Daly would also be on the outside looking in.
Don't also forget about Howie Miller's had a spectacular season for No Limit, and he's obviously one of those premier players in this league when it comes to scoring the ball, so I think he should be in consideration.
I also think if Russell Payton was here all the games this year, he might have won that MVP, and the Brotherhood might be undefeated or have 1 loss.
And speaking of the Brotherhood, 10 o'clock on Court 1. That's a great segue. I love myself. Number 3, Brotherhood. Number 6, the Throne. Brotherhood beat Lob 83-75 last night. Struggle a little at times. I think kind of a weak showing for them. And the Throne, 88-76 over the Bad Boys last night. Saw some Joe Bacciello last night for the first time in weeks. I think you guys are going to talk a little bit about that. Looked still a little hobbly a little bit at times, but they were obviously taking it very easy, limited minutes. Scored 11 points in, I'd say, about 8 minutes in the first half, but 3 of those were technical free throws at the beginning. So we'll see what happens. What do you expect from this game, and is Joe Bacciello being on the court healthy kind of what might be the key factor if the Throne wants to get this win for you guys?
Well, even if Bacciello shows up and gives you his best performance, it's not going to be solely enough to beat a team as good as the Brotherhood. And the last time the Brotherhood and the Throne played, the Throne didn't have Bacciello, and the Jean-Baptiste brothers were amazing. I think one had 26 and the other had 24. They combined for 50 points and 10 rebounds. If they give them that kind of performance around Bacciello, around what Bacciello's probably going to give at least 20 points. You know, that's the kind of player that he is. He's an elite scorer on every level that you can measure him at. So I think that when you look at that and his support players, if they step up and their size, Rob Dupree and these boys, you know, they got some bodies down low that are going to give the Brotherhood some trouble. You know, Jonathan Robles is going to be one of the pivotal factors. You already know what you're getting out of Russ and Mike. It's the guys like we're saying about the Throne. Who's going to step up around the stars? Whoever gets the most support around their stars is probably going to be the team that comes out in this one. I probably think the Brotherhood's going to be that team.
Yeah, and I mean, to flip it, I think this is a big game for the Throne, but I think the Brotherhood, this is a chance for them to remind the league of who they are. This is the chance. I mean, everyone's picking the Throne. Everyone thinks, oh, maybe it's an upset. And the Brotherhood kind of have become an afterthought when you think of Monstars, No Limit, Throne. You got Team Moose with their defense. You got Flint coming up. And, you know, it's kind of funny to think that the Brotherhood, a 2-time champion with Mike Davis and Russ Payton, is kind of being thought less of now. And I think it's a chance for them to remind the league, hey, this is what we can do. We're playing a top team, and we're going to show them what we can really do about it. And, I mean, the Throne are a phenomenal team. Joe B will make a huge difference, but, you know, there's 2 teams that can make a statement, and I'm really interested to see which one of them make the statement.
I think it's going to be interesting to see because it's easy to say if Joe B's on the court tonight, they're a lot better. But at some point, if he actually is a little hurt, he could take away. Maybe it's better to sit him down and let the Jean-Baptiste brothers kind of ball out because they've shown that they can do it before. Yeah. Might not be able to do it again, but if Joe's hurt, we're at the point where it's taking a little bit away from the team. You might just have to sit him anyway. So we'll see what happens. That was just a 5-point game in Week 9, so obviously the Throne can compete with them. It might not be the same tonight. I picked the Throne to be the upset, so I don't know if anyone's jumping on board with me just yet. The Brotherhood have shown they're a proven team. Took 2 losses this year in the regular season, but they're still the Brotherhood, Mike Davis, Russ, all those role players. In the last game of the night, 10 p.m. on Court 2, number 1 Monstars versus number 8 SDP. The Monstars knocked off Flight Club 96-81 last night. And what I think was the low-key best game, most entertaining game of the night Larry in the comment section said, big shout out to Flight Club. That was the best game we had this year. Best fans, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down on, I think, on our panel here, too.
Yeah.
That was a fun game. Obviously, the Monstars were playing near 100%.
Yeah.
But Flight Club, you've seen games like this before. A lot of teams will just give up. You've seen it from sometimes Y a little bit this year. Double dribblers, fry time. Not with this Flight Club team. And that's what I really respect about that club, even though they lost.
Yeah.
STP, you all picked Sportslook last night against STP. And while I think Sportslook might have had more talent across the board, STP definitely wanted that game a little more, playing without their all-star Slattery. It was a good win. They were up 12, I think, at half, and quickly within the first few minutes of that game, gave it all back. And I was thinking to myself, well, this is the turning point in the game. But they had some players that stepped up in big times and gave that points when they needed. So Monstars, STP, didn't play in the regular season. Can't do much preparing for the Monstars, and you're out without arguably your best player. Can STP do anything? I know the Monstars have been kind of weak in first halves sometimes. Can STP do anything to maybe make it a 4-quarter game?
They have to run, and they need to run with the best of them. You know, they need to keep up with the Monstars. The Monstars are a team that will get you out of your game, and they've shown that with their 86 steals this year, another league leader in that department. You know, that's not a stat that gets overlooked with the Monsters. We're so focused on how dynamic they are offensively, but their offense is set up with their stingy defense. They get the ball from you and they run the floor with guys like Reggie, who's a lightning ball in transition, and then you have guys like Greg and Eric running on his wings. Who wants to get in front of those freight trains when they're running down the court? I don't think anybody. So I think that's going to be the key. Who's going to run the floor better tonight? Because STP has shown that they're not an elite team scoring the ball in a half-court set. They need to be running. They have big bodies as well, and they're very fast. They're very athletic. So they need to try to exploit that to the best of their ability because that's their biggest strength. But unfortunately, it matches up pretty well with the strengths of the Monstars, which is pretty much why I'm going with the Monstars in this one.
Yeah, this is a game I think that's perfect for the Monstars. SDP leads the league in rebounds, great in transition, and they don't have Mike Slattery, who's an all-star and averages 16 points a game. And then you got Reggie Stewart, who lives in transition or can run a half-court offense. He can do both. You got Greg Langston and Eric Langston, who just have this chemistry. You can tell they've been playing together since they were 2 years old in the backyard. I just kind of feel bad for STP because they've had a phenomenal season. They had a great playoff game last night, but they just, luck of the draw, they get the Monstars. And like I've said before, unless like the Looney Tunes and the Michael Jordan are coming out of the building, it's going to be a rough day, I feel like, for STP because this game and the way they need to play just fits the Monstars so well.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 games. We'll take a quick look at our brackets real quick. I think most of you have these top 4 seeds in the Final Four. Greg, you had Run TMC in your Final Four. Had to make a point of rub it in there. So most of your picks will be these top 4 seeds tonight. But if there's an upset pick you had to make tonight, where's it coming? Is it Central over No Limit? Is it Throne over the Brotherhood? What's your best shot at an upset here tonight?
It's definitely Central over No Limit. I think that they have the highest amount of talent on their lineup out of all the teams that I personally didn't pick. So, like I said, Carmine, Aaron Samuel, Troy Brunson, I can go on and on with that team. Even Brian Pratt last night stepped up and gave them huge three-pointers in clutch moments when they needed them. So I think Central is that team that has the biggest potential to upset in terms of seeding.
I'm going to stay with my Team Moose villain role, and I'm going to go Flint. Maybe Team Moose has an off night. I mean, every good team needs a villain.
Where's your jersey?
Villain. But in all reality, they'll have to play a perfect basketball game if they want to beat Team Moose. We can't beat Team Moose if you miss shots, turn the ball over, and don't play smart defensively. And, I can't pick Central because I picked No Limit to win it all, so I'll go Flint.
And we have some more breaking news on the pregame. Apparently no Joe Bacciello tonight.
Wow.
So maybe let's revisit this with this knowledge now. No Joe Bacciello. Does that change anything? I know I just mentioned that if he's hurt, it could actually take away from the performance, kind of let the Jean-Baptiste brothers kind of ball out without an injured player hobbling on the side. Does this maybe make them better than if they had an injured Bacciello on the court?
Yeah, well, I think me and Greg actually were pretty right now because me and Greg did see him wincing in pain, and he did not look like himself last night. I know he gave some good numbers, but yeah, now not having him, and now that that's confirmed, that's going to be a big deficit. But like we said, the Throne already could show that they can compete with the Brotherhood even without Bacciello. It's going to come down to those guys that we already talked about, the Jean-Baptiste brothers, and I think Rod Dupree is that key force for them. He's so much bigger than everybody.
Yep.
They need to try to find a way to get him 20-plus points in this game because he deserves to be on the stat sheet shining with the amount of size and weight that he has on his fellow opponents.
Yeah, and I think it might actually work out for the Throne. I think they hear all year, Joe Bacciello, all this stuff, and now this is their chance. They don't have Joe. It's the Throne's time to say, hey, we don't need Joe. We're a team without Joe or with Joe, and we can get big wins in this league. And this is their chance to prove it.
It's definitely interesting because in Week 9, the Throne scored pretty easily almost. I know the Brotherhood, I think their major flaws, they don't really want to play defense down low. That's my biggest criticism is that down low defense. Throne shown they can score. So it comes down to defense now. Defense wasn't always there last night against the bad boys. Trey and Destin were sometimes running straight to the hoop.
Yeah.
Comes down to the defense. So if you had a kind of a wobbling player like Bacciello, that can really hurt them. So maybe this could be a blessing in disguise here. And that tells you me right now, the MVP of tonight is going to have to be Fred Milford on the defensive end. That's what it's going to come down to for me. I don't know if you guys agree, but that's going to be the big thing for me. So that's going to wrap it up for the quarterfinals pregame show presented by Burns Tire. Again, I'm Joe Catapano. Alongside me was Connor and Greg. We'll see you on the courts at 9 o'clock. After tonight, we'll be down to the Final Four in the Summer 17 playoffs. Guys, it's coming down to it. Hopefully we see some parity tonight. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see you guys at 9 o'clock and on the post-game show later tonight.